With the consumer market evolving over the past 25 years or so, pickup trucks are no longer purchased solely for their utility, capability, and also for commercial use. Now in the 2020s, they're kind of a status symbol, especially on the higher end if you go with a Silverado or F-150. These pickup trucks are getting a bit more luxurious, tech-focused. They're also a bit more family-friendly and conducive for longer road trips and for things outside of work use. But for those of you looking for a work truck that also has some creature comforts and amenities, well, you're in luck in the Chevrolet product line with the Colorado LT. Now, with a WT, which is the base trim for 2025, you have the steel wheels, you have a rugged-looking pickup, a more basic-looking pickup. But with the LT, you can customize. You can make this pickup quite enjoyable. And in today's video, we're going to check out what the LT has to offer. We're going to check out the exterior, the interior, take it out for a quick test drive, and see why, if you are looking at buying a pickup truck at around $40,000, then maybe taking a look at the LT might be a great decision. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Copeland Chevrolet here in Hudson, Massachusetts for letting me come down here to check out the Colorado LT. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Chevrolet inventory. So as always, let's begin with that pricing. For the 2025 Chevrolet Colorado LT we have today, we have a starting cost of just under $41,000 since our model has all-wheel drive. Now with the LT, this does slot above the WT, and it's a bit more of a family-friendly and also a bit more of an upscale pickup over that WT. The WT is quite basic and great for those of you who are using it as a work truck or as a commercial vehicle. The LT, you can kind of blur the lines there. However, our model today shares a lot more similarities with the WT than the Trail Boss and Z71. Now, as you can tell aesthetically, we don't have those steel wheels. However, up front, we are going to have halogen headlamps. That is right. Still in 2025, we have those halogen lights. But if you were to go with the LT convenience package, you're going to receive LED headlights, LED tail lamps, and also LED fog lights, giving you a more higher quality exterior to this model and making it look a bit more modernized. Now, with the Chevrolet Colorado for this generation, it does look a bit more aggressive. You can see that with the body lines, it looks a bit more meaner than the prior generation it replaced. Now, up front for our model, we are going to have some gloss black trim here, which contrasts very well with some of the plastic materials that we are going to see on that grille in the lower portion of the front bumper. Now, speaking of the lower front fascia, we are going to have two tow hook mounts. So if you are going to the construction sites or you are maybe going off-road, you'll be able to tow things out very easily, such as that Ford Ranger. Now, as you make your way over the side profile, we are going to be sitting on 17-inch alloy wheels. Aesthetically, this is the nice upgrade over that WT with the steelies. Now, we're going to talk about how the 17s affect the ride quality when we do take this vehicle out for a quick test drive. But I think aesthetically, though, this is a solid upgrade. And while we're taking a look at the side profile, we are going to have a ground clearance of 7.9 inches. So whether you're taking on the elements, going off-road, maybe even snow-covered roadways, the Colorado will be able to handle anything you throw at it, even in LT form. Now, for our model, we are going to have gloss gray side mirror caps, but no turn signal indicators, which isn't too much of a surprise. However, we are going to receive blind spot detection for added safety. Then as you make your way around to the back, the first thing you are going to notice is the 4x4 badge. Now, you are going to have those tail lamps that are not LED, so bit of an old school look here for our pickup today, but it is available on the LT. You're going to have the Chevrolet badge stamped out on the tailgate, giving you a rugged appeal to this pickup. And then for the lower portion of the rear bumper, you will have those steps, giving you easy access to the bed of the Colorado. And while we're taking a look at the rear fascia, might as well talk about the packages, or maybe lack thereof, that we have equipped on our model today. Now, we do have the $945 advanced trailering package, giving us a 2-inch receiver hitch, 7-wire electrical harness with 7-pin sealed connector, a trailer brake controller, in-vehicle trailering app, and also the automatic locking rear differential essential. This would be the go-to. This is an essential package in my opinion, and this would also go hand in hand with the Pro Essentials package for $1,000. Since we're back here, might as well open up that tailgate, and since we don't have this package, we don't receive the drop-in bed liner, also the custom molded splash guards or cargo area lamps. If you're not going to go with the LT convenience package, these two packages provide a lot of value, give you some versatility, but also if you are using this as a work truck, you don't want to go with a WT, you want just a bit more creature comforts and amenities, the LT with these two packages would make a lot more sense. Now also in regards to its capability, you're looking at a towing capacity with the LT at 3,500 pounds and a payload capacity of 1,846, which that is best in class at this price point for $40,000. So with the Colorado and the LT, the way it's configured for our model today, this is a work truck, a nicer work truck than the WT, and I think the way it's designed, I think some of you are going to prefer this over that WT. Powering all 2025 Chevrolet Colorados, including the WT and LT, will be a 2.7-liter Turbo Max 4-cylinder engine. Producing 310 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque, it is paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. Like many pickups in this market from rival brands, they're all dropping the V6s for these Turbo 4s, and I know a lot of you who are a bit more old school would love to see the V6 make its way back into this model. But with this Turbo 4, it's very responsive, it's competent, it's capable. We've already gone over the fact that it can tow and haul quite a bit here. So this is going to be a versatile and capable vehicle for you and your family, or if you are using this as a work truck. And that's what's most important here out of a pickup coming in at around $40,000. Whether you are going to those construction sites, whether you're towing a small boat, or you're commuting with the Colorado, it should do the job very well, and also it is very competitive with that Ford Ranger and Toyota Tacoma. Obviously, with a pickup truck in this market, you will have two different drivetrain options to choose from. We have four-wheel drive for better year-round capability and versatility, and also since we live up here in New England, we're going to need that during the winter months. Now, probably more importantly is going to be that fuel economy. You're looking at right around 17 miles per gallon in the city and 21 miles per gallon on the highway, for a combined average of 19 miles per gallon. Not the best in this market, but falls right in line with many smaller pickups in this segment, and obviously you're not expecting a fuel-efficient experience out of a pickup such as this, but I think a lot of you have already factored that into the equation. Hopping inside the LT we have today, we are greeted by heated cloth seats for both the driver and passenger, with the driver's side having power adjustability, whereas the passenger will have to manually find the ideal seating position, which is very typical for a pickup truck at around $40,000. Like I said before, with the exterior, without the LT convenience package, this will be very similar to a WT. It just looks a bit more sleeker, and also you're going to have a bit more of the creature comforts and amenities that you desire for the interior. But aside from that, this does feel somewhat like the WT. If you were to go with that $3,500 package, though, you get EvoTex upholstery, which will feel a bit nicer here for this pickup. I also think it would pair up very well with the heated seat functionality. You also get a wireless phone charging pad as well. So those are some things to consider here. $3,500 is a steep price tag, though, for a pickup truck that comes in at around $40,000. So you might want to take all this into consideration. Now, with these seats, they are quite firm and they're a bit stiff. So obviously, this is designed to be a bit more of a work truck than a comfortable family hauler and long road trip cruiser. Bolstering is actually pretty good, and I do find myself quite snug in these seats, but that's also helped out by the dashboard layout of this pickup truck. What Chevrolet has done here for this generation compared to last generation, it's a stark difference, not only technologically speaking, but I also think the way the interior is laid out, this is more cutting edge, and in a way, kind of feels crossover-like, which I know, don't take that out of context, it's just that's the way this pickup truck does feel, and I think a lot of pickup trucks are moving in that direction with technology taking over the interior layouts. Now, in front of you will be a wrap steering wheel, which feels really nice in the hands, very premium for an LT at around $40,000. As expected, no aggressive 10-2 or firm 9-3 grips. It's a pickup truck. This is not a sports pickup truck at all. Now, in front of you will be that full digital gauge cluster, which looks really nice. We're starting to receive a lot more Google-based software from Chevrolet, And this is a huge improvement over the analog gauges from last generation. This is my first time experiencing this for the Colorado, and this is a welcomed addition. Now, as we're seeing from a number of Chevrolet and GM products, this digital gauge cluster is somewhat customizable. Not super intuitive, but there's multiple layouts you can choose from. With a more minimized layout, traditional gauges, you can also go with more of a tech-savvy one that gives you your trip computer information and fuel economy statistics. Personally, though, I'm going with the Google Map layout. I love this layout. It looks futuristic. Also, I'm not looking over at that infotainment system. And with this layout, I still get the digital speedometer and also traffic sign recognition. So I have the essentials with this layout, but I fully understand if a lot of you do prefer the traditional gauges for the screen in front of you. Now, taking a look at the infotainment system, this is a Google-based software, which, as I've said numerous times, is a huge upgrade over what we have experienced from older Chevrolet and GM technology. With the Google-based software, it functions very much like every other Google-based software out there on the market today. You're going to have all your widgets in place in front of you for vehicle status, Google Assistant, Google Play Store. You have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, also your camera systems, Amazon Alexa, trailering, settings, and climate. Which is interesting about the climate, though, is that you can just control that with the physical buttons and dials found beneath the screen. For your dual zone climate control, that is right. Also, your heated front seats, AC, front and rear defrosters, fan speed, and fan direction. So there is dual functionality there, but I would prefer just using the buttons, being more of a traditional person in this market. Now, when you take a look at the left side of this screen, there will be quick access icons for sub-menus, such as your controls and safety, which gives you access to the power window lockout, camera, traction control, auto high beams, park assist. Also, your Bluetooth connectivity, your onboard navigation, your radio. Then you can also go with more of a minimized layout here where you can display certain types of content such as your audio, Google Assistant, trailering, and trip. And then lastly will be that home screen button. But this is actually very easy to use, very straightforward. And I think what Chevrolet is doing here by giving us this Google-based software, this is a nice step in the right direction here for Chevrolet. Very competitive with Toyota and also Ford right now. Now, when placing the Colorado in reverse, you are going to receive a rear backup camera with trajectory, obviously. You're also going to have your trail hitch view as well, so that way when you are towing a boat or maybe latching on to that boat or anything else you're going to be towing, you can do so very safely and see very clearly with this screen. Beneath the head unit, like I said before, you have those physical buttons and dials for your dual zone climate control and heated seats. Beneath that will be two air vents, and then also your auto start stop, your hazards, and then your lane centering. Beneath that will be a USB-C and USB-A outlet and a tray for a smartphone, which again, if you go with the LT convenience package, that will be a wireless phone charging pad. For the center console itself, you will find your gear selector here, which is flanked by gloss black trim. Also your drive mode selector for 2 high, 4 high, towing, and then you have auto. Electronic parking brake, then 2 cup holders here. And then lastly, for the center console, you're going to have a deep storage compartment here for some smaller water bottles, obviously smaller tech gadgets, wallets, or smartphones. So I love to see that. Also, you will find a 12-volt outlet. Now, for passengers in the second row, they're going to receive right around 34.7 inches of legroom, which should be more than enough for most small families and some smaller adults. Obviously, if you are going to those construction sites or you have coworkers with you, they will be hitting their head on the headliner depending on their height, because it is somewhat cramped and claustrophobic in here with this cab. But I'm not expecting anything different here for a smaller mid-size pickup. This would not be comparable to a Silverado. So if you do need a pickup that is larger, look at the Silverado instead of the Colorado. But at around $40,000 though, I do think this pickup is quite flexible, where there is enough room for smaller kids and average size adults. Now obviously we're not going to be receiving all the creature comforts and amenities for the second row as you might find on higher trims. However, we do get 2 cup holders on that center console, 2 center mounted air vents, a USB-C input, and since we don't have the LT convenience package, we don't have a center armrest with 2 cup holders, but at least we have cup holders in front of us when we are going on those longer road trips. So now being behind the wheel of the LT, the 2.7 is the talking point here, being the only engine across all trims for 2025. The question really comes down to, is this a good powertrain for a pickup in this market? And a lot of manufacturers are going to turbo 4s, so Chevrolet had to be competitive and do the exact same. even though there are some manufacturers that are still using the V6, like the Nissan Frontier and the Ford Ranger. But with this powertrain though, very quiet, very docile, and for weekday driving, I think it's suitable. Now, obviously, for those of you who are avid enthusiasts, you go off-road, you go to work, you tow things, you might say, all right, I wish we had the V6 still. The V6 would be more capable, or maybe even for the long term, the long haul, reliable. But with this 2.7 though, I really like its power plant. I like the fact that with the performance that we have here to work with, a good amount of low-end torque, and better yet, I think it's a very linear power band too. And I think this is a great pairing for a pickup truck in this market. Now also better yet, if you're comparing this to a Toyota Tacoma, they're using a hybrid 4-cylinder on some of their trims. So some of you might not want that. You might want just a regular turbo 4, and we have that here with the Colorado. Now I think from an on-road perspective, the suspension is actually tuned quite nicely here. It's not really abusing you at all, but then again, this isn't an off-road tuned suspension. So if you're looking for just a work truck, a commuter truck, the LT would be the way to go. Then of course you have the Trail Boss and Z71. You can go all the way down the list and have a pickup truck that is going to be suitable for your needs and your lifestyle. But I think the real thing here though with the LT is that it's a nicer upgrade and a nicer truck over the WT. Even though maybe a basic pickup truck is all you really need for your job or for your work, and that might be perfectly fine for you. But at around $40,000, you're receiving just a bit more here with some creature comforts, heated front seats. Also, I like the cloth seats driving it around. Stationary, not so much, but I think that when you are just commuting to work, these seats actually do the job. They're actually quite comfortable, especially for the backs of these seats. But also more importantly for this generation, the fact they changed up the entire dashboard layout with the full digital gauge cluster, infotainment system. They've done a pretty good job here. This is actually a very competitive pickup, even from the design aspect. But from an on-road perspective though, I have no complaints. I really don't. The 17s are quite smooth. You're not really dealing with any of that road noise either. And the ride quality is not brutal. So even though you're making that leap from the steel wheels with a WT, the LT I think is very suitable. And also, of course, like I said before, no off-road tuned suspension. Even at highway speeds, it feels quite smooth and it can get out of its own way, which is really all I'm asking for out of a pickup truck in this market. Now also, seat positioning wise, you do sit pretty high up in this pickup. Gives you that traditional rugged experience that you're looking for in this market. Nice commanding feel and presence over the roadways. You can see what's directly out in front of you, even with that hood sticking out quite a bit. A-pillars are somewhat aggressive here, so you might have some blind spots when you are approaching intersections or red lights. Taking a look at your side mirrors, they are decently sized. I can see what's in my blind spots and the lane next to me, and then looking out back, obviously, with the bed there, I can see what's directly behind me. So a lot of visibility here, but I think it comes down to the seat positioning as well. This does not feel like a small pickup at all, and it's not going to resemble a Ford Maverick. Accelerating off the line, pretty smooth gear shifts here out of this 8-speed automatic, and it does put the power down quite nicely. Like I said, it has a nice low-end torque and really kicks in around low-end to mid-range, so I like that, I really do. But also when you're not, on like 9 or 10 tenths, there's not a lot of turbo lag either, which I know a lot of you would be complaining about and wouldn't want out of your pickup. But I think it does a pretty good job here, and also it is quite peppy. What I also like too is that the steering input is decently weighted. Obviously, it's not going to feel like a traditional old school pickup in that way, but you can have some fun with it. There is some engagement, and it does feel agile more importantly. You don't really feel the weight of this pickup truck in the corners. So all in all, after this very quick test drive and spending a few hours with the LT, I think it's actually more than well equipped. It's a vehicle that gives you the basic necessities, the bare necessities really, while also still giving you dual zone climate control and heated front seats. This is actually a great value at around $40,000. However, like I said before, you gotta go with that LT convenience package. That to me is the way to go. The LT convenience package provides a lot to work with, and I think that it provides a lot of value to this model where you don't necessarily have to go with the Z71 or a Trail Boss. But then again, though, you're spending around $3,500, and then if you tack on the other optional packages for the advanced trailering package or towing package, then you're spending around $45,000, $46,000. Then the Z71 becomes an appealing option and alternative. But it really boils down to what you're looking for out of a pickup. If you don't care about full LED lighting and LED fog lights, then I think the LT is going to be a smarter choice over that WT, while also being a bit more of a flexible pickup truck as well for multiple uses, whether it's utility or daily driving with you and your family. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review for the 2025 Chevrolet Colorado LT. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys next time.